The first time Ethan Hale saw the book, it wasn't on a shelf. It was standing upright in the middle of the abandoned library's marble floor, as if someone had just placed it there. Dust coated every single surface, every fallen chandelier, every overturned cart, except for that one object. Its leather cover was blackened and cracked, and it felt worn to the touch, far too warm for a building that had been sealed for 40 years. Ethan wasn't even supposed to be there. He was just a freelance archivist hired to catalog the decaying remains of the old Briarwood Public Library before the city demolished it. But the moment he stepped inside, he felt it. A strange tugging sensation, an instinct, a whisper on the edge of hearing that he just couldn't explain. The book had no title, only a single symbol burned into the cover, a circle split by a jagged vertical line. He knew he should have walked away, he knew it, but instead he picked it up. A strange warmth pulsed beneath his fingers, like a slow, steady heartbeat. And that's when the whispering began. Ethan carried the book back to his temporary office, a dusty room lit by a single, sad, flickering lamp. He placed it on the desk and, with a sense of both dread and fascination, opened it carefully. The first page was blank. The second page was blank, but the third page... His breath caught in his throat. Words were forming on the paper right before his eyes. Ink was bleeding upward from the fibers, like dark veins filling with blood. To read is to awaken. To awaken is to invite. He slammed the book shut, his heart pounding in his chest. He backed away from the desk, stumbling over his own feet, but the whispering followed him. It was soft, rhythmic, like someone was breathing directly into his ear. He couldn't take it. He fled the room, then the entire building, not even looking back. He didn't return until the next morning, but the book was waiting for him. Not on the desk where he'd left it. It was sitting on his chair, open to a new page. The next day, a deeply unsettled Ethan asked the demolition crew if any of them had gone inside, if anyone had moved the book. They all denied it, looking at him like he was crazy. But one of them, an older man named Harris, just crossed himself when Ethan described the object. "You found her book," Harris muttered, his face pale. "Whose book?" Ethan asked. "The librarian, Margaret Voss. The one who locked herself inside the library the night it closed for good. They never found her body, only her writings." A cold chill crawled up Ethan's spine. What writings? Harris just shook his head, his eyes wide with fear. Burned. All of them, or so they said, that night. Ethan knew he had to go back. He returned to the library alone, armed with a flashlight and a growing sense of dread. He needed answers. He needed to understand why this book kept changing, why it felt so alive. He found the reading room door unlocked, even though he was certain he had locked it earlier. Inside, the book sat on the large center table, illuminated by a single shaft of moonlight pouring through a cracked skylight. The pages fluttered gently, as if caught in a breeze, but the air was perfectly still. Ethan approached slowly, his footsteps echoing in the silence. A new page had written itself. She is not gone. She is merely unread. A shadow moved in the corner of his eye. He spun around, flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. Nothing. There was nothing there, but the whispering grew louder, more distinct. It was the sound of a woman's voice. Ethan decided he needed proof. He wasn't going crazy. He set up cameras, audio recorders, and motion sensors all around the reading room. If this book was being moved, if someone was writing in it, he was going to catch them. He monitored the feeds from his office. At midnight, the first camera flickered and went dark. At 3 minutes past 12, the second camera shut off completely. At 12:06, the audio recorder, which had been silent until now, captured a voice. A woman's voice. It was soft, calm, unnervingly patient. "Do not turn the page." Ethan froze as he listened to the playback, the voice sending shivers through him. He hadn't touched the book at all that night. He hadn't even been in the room. But when he forced himself to go back and check, the book was open again. This time, the page contained a list of rules. Do not read aloud. Do not turn the page after midnight. Do not close the book once opened. Do not look for her. Do not ignore her. Ethan stared at the bizarre, contradictory list, his mind reeling with confusion and terror. Who wrote this? He whispered into the empty room. As if in response, the lights went out, plunging him into total darkness. And then he heard it, the slow, deliberate sound of footsteps circling him. He didn't breathe. He didn't move a muscle. When the emergency lights flickered back on a moment later, the book had turned to the next page. Rule number 2 had been broken. The new page contained a single, chilling sentence. She is behind you. Ethan didn't turn around. He couldn't. A wave of absolute paralysis washed over him. The air grew impossibly cold. Then, a hand thin, bony, and cold as ice rested on his shoulder. He squeezed his eyes shut, his entire body trembling. Ethan, a woman whispered, her voice brushing against his ear like a single strand of hair. You opened my book. He forced himself to speak, his voice barely a croak. What do you want? Her icy breath chilled the back of his neck. A reader. That's when he broke. He bolted from the room, sprinting down the grand, echoing hallway. But every door he passed slammed shut with a deafening boom. The library was sealing itself, trapping him inside. He finally reached the main entrance, throwing his body against the heavy oak doors, locked, bolted shut. He turned back, his breath ragged, and there she was, the librarian. Standing at the far end of the hall, her face was a pale mask stretched thin over her skull. Her eyes were black voids that seemed to swallow the light. Her mouth hung open as if unhinged, whispering without making a sound. Ethan stumbled backward, falling to the floor. The book appeared at his feet, open, waiting. In that terrifying moment, Ethan finally understood the truth. The book wasn't a record, it was a trap, a doorway. A lure for anyone curious enough, or foolish enough, to open it. The librarian hadn't died here. She had been consumed, absorbed into the very fabric of the book, bound to it, feeding on the souls of readers who broke her rules. And Ethan had broken every single one. With shaking hands, he picked up the book. The final page was blank. As he stared, words began to painfully form, bleeding into the paper. To escape, write your ending. His breath trembled. He fumbled in his pocket and pulled out a pen. His hand seemed to move on its own, hovering over the page. He wrote. Ethan Hale closed the book and walked out of the library alive. The ink sank into the page, and the book snapped shut with a sound like a breaking bone. All at once, the doors unlocked. The ghostly figure of the librarian vanished. Ethan scrambled to his feet and ran into the night, gasping, shaking, but alive. He didn't stop running until he reached his car. He didn't dare look back. 2 weeks later, Ethan was just starting to feel normal again. He returned home from work to find a package on his doorstep. There was no return address. He brought it inside, his hands trembling as he unwrapped the old, yellowed newspaper. His heart stopped. It was the book. The same cracked leather, the same burned symbol. A small note lay beneath it, written in his own handwriting. You forgot to write the last line. With a sense of horrifying inevitability, Ethan opened the book. The final page, where he had written his escape, was no longer blank. It now contained one more sentence. A reader must replace the librarian. The whispering began again. This time, it spoke his name. And the book opened itself to a new, empty page, waiting. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more chilling tales. See you next time.